on, get back down to your island, you cocksuckers.